So Owera is a 57-acre farm winery. The first vineyard was planted in 2008. There's 2.5 acres of grapes down below that we're going to look at. They're frontenac gray grapes. Here we have to plant Minnesota cold hardy varietals because we don't have the warm climate that the Finger Lakes has. University of Minnesota developed grapes that can withstand temperatures of -40 degrees. So that's what we have to plant here.
That's pretty impressive.
And in 2016, we added another 2.5 acres of vineyard up top. We'll be harvesting that for the first time this year. It's La Crescent grapes and Frontenac, which is a red grape. So we're hoping to come out with a couple new wines this year. So this is our vineyard. These are Frontenac gray grapes. Right now they're maturing. They're growing very quickly. Somebody just went through and pulled the leaves off around the fruiting zone to maximize the sunlight potential going into the grape.
Can we take a closer look?
Yes. Yeah, so these grapes will probably about double in size, and they'll also turn purple. So right around the beginning of August, maybe the second week of August, veraison starts. Veraison is the ripening of the grape. Even though this is a white wine, the grape will turn purple, and that's when all the sugars move into the grape. And sometime towards the end of September is when we actually harvest. So what we'll do is come out here every day, every couple days, and grab a random sample of the grape and do a test on the sugar levels.
Wow. So how did you learn all of this?
It's kind of a funny story. So I have a master's degree from SUNY ESF in environmental studies, and I just kind of fell into this job here. A company I was working for shut down suddenly, and I ended up kind of working in the vineyard here, working in the garden, helping out here and there. And then I ended up helping out in the winery and just kind of moved into the position of winemaker with the help of, I work closely with a consultant in the Finger Lakes, and he kind of guided me along, and I took a couple online classes through UC Davis in California, and
here you are.
Yep, here I am. Once the grapes are ready for harvest, we schedule a group of people. We handpick all of our grapes here because we're such a small vineyard. To get a harvesting machine in here would be kind of treacherous. So we hand harvest all of our grapes. They go into these little lugs. They just kind of fall down. And then we dump the lugs into 1-ton bins. And then the 1-ton bins go up to our crush pad for processing. So it's important to get the grapes processed as soon as possible after they come off the vine to prevent any microbial growth or any rotting or anything like that. So it's a very long day getting everything situated. So the grape processing, they go into a crusher destemmer. All of the stems get pulled out, and the grapes get kind of punctured. And then from there, for white wine, the grapes go right into a press where they get squeezed into juice and put into a tank inside, which we'll check out in a minute. Once all of our grapes are harvested, pretty much within a couple weeks after that, all of the leaves yellow and fall to the ground. Then all that needs to get done is in most of our vineyard area, we have bird netting. That has to be kind of tied up and get the vines ready for pruning. Pruning happens throughout the course of the winter. So the vines start down here, and we use 4 cordons on these wires.
You want to zoom?
And this ends up being the fruiting zone. So as you can see, there's vines that come way up. All of that gets cut down, and we just leave 4 canes to kind of cover these bottom wires. We get a lot of snow here. Sometimes the snow is up above the actual, so we kind of have to wait until March, April to prune, and it's kind of a rush to beat the budding season.
Yeah, so it's time.
Yeah, time crunch. And another challenge we have here, as well as many other vineyards, deer, birds.
feel like we're in the masterworks, the behind the scenes area. Tell us about what this is.
So these are all our tanks. So our largest tanks are 2,000 gallons. They can fit about 10,000 bottles in there, just for perspective. So once the grapes are processed, they all go into these tanks, and for white wines, the juice cold settles overnight, and then it gets moved to another tank. A lot of my job is moving wine from one tank to another to clarify it.
What is the clarification process?
So at the beginning, it's just letting the wine settle overnight, and then the juice settle overnight, and then moving it to another tank to ferment in that tank. So once that happens, the fermentation process starts. We control all of our fermentations here, so I add different types of yeast depending on the type of wine it is. Different yeast strains will help pull out aromatics or different flavor profiles.
So that's really interesting to talk about. What do you feel makes your wines distinctive here? You talked about flavor profiles. What would be the profile of some of, or maybe the majority of your wines?
So I try to extract the fruit flavors to the maximum potential, especially in wines like Riesling that are so full of fruit. And then also wines like our Betty's White and Owera White, they're blended wines. And just trying to get the fruit flavor, like Cayuga grapes, for example, have a very strong peach flavor. I want to preserve that in the final finished product of the wines. So we do all of our bottling in-house. So when we get the grapes from the Finger Lakes, they're all processed here on site. The wine's made here on site and also bottled here.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So do you oversee that process as well personally?
I do.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, I've learned a lot about the mechanics of this bottling line, which I never thought I'd be able to learn. So when we bottle, the wine gets pumped from a tank to the final filter, and then it goes into this filler bowl here. Our fillers do 6 bottles at a time. It does about 1,000 bottles an hour.
So in a year, how many bottles in total do you typically produce, or on average?
We do, I'd say on average between 40 and 50,000 bottles a year. And we generally bottle like one wine on one day, so we bottle about 15 times a year. And then this is our capsuler, and then our labeler, and then the wine gets boxed up here manually and brought over to our bonded warehouse.
Okay, so this is maybe a silly question. Who designs your labels? How do you choose what the labels will look like in a given year?
So we work closely with our label company, MPI Labels, out of Norwich. So they've helped us come up with our newer labels. Some of the labels were made before I got here, but yeah, we work with MPI now.
That's really interesting. Thank you.
And we kind of come up with a concept, and then they do the artwork, and we go back and forth with it. Mm-hmm. And we try and keep consistent, like with the hummingbird, for example, or the trees. Our tree labels, all of the trees on those labels are found on site here.
Oh, so that's a nice detail. I love
Yeah.
that.